video.
Hey, Khalid.
Hey, Bruno, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. I am worried that this link is not the one that's in the Eventbrite. Is it the same one as is in the Eventbrite?
Let me check. I do not think I have access to the Eventbrite. Give me 1 second.
It's the community board's Eventbrite.
I haven't logged into it from here. Give me 1 second to check.
What's going on, folks?
Hey, what's up? Just trying to make sure that our participants actually have the a working Zoom link. We'll figure
That
out.
would be great. Yeah, I was trying to get in. I was like, something weird happened, but I guess it was.
Yeah, I gotta take it. The link was dead. I think that maybe when they switched their account over, all the former links from months ago died. And so just wondering if that's the case in our Eventbrite. If not, we'll have to email everybody who responded to it and make sure that they have an updated link.
Yeah, I saw people waiting. I don't know if you could you tell.
I don't see anybody in the waiting room now.
It said 20 people when I tried to log in.
When you tried to log in, really?
Yeah, just like a few minutes ago. So
That's-
Alicia,
Hey, Matthias.
what's going on?
Buddy.
You still living in Apple?
Yes, still living in my Apple.
Good, good. All right, I guess we're resolving this in real time.
Yeah, sorry, I gotta update this meeting link for all of the guests who are presenting. Sorry, give me a minute.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Primo, what is the password for the Eventbrite? I just asked Mia, and she says that you would know offhand, and I don't have.
Somewhere in my email inbox. Jamie, maybe you have it in your inbox too. Yeah, let me see. I got it. 1 second. All right, it's do you want me to just put it in the chat, or do you need me to email it to you?
You know what?
I'll chat it to you directly.
Yes,
I have
that'd be great. Thank you, because I'm not finding.
That's
Here we go.
I just messaged it to you.
Yes, I got it. I've been trying this password. Incredible. Okay.
So we have for everybody else, well, we have 8 minutes to get some last minute things sorted here. We have 42 folks who RSVP'd for the event, which is great. I'd imagine about 30 to 35 of them are students. For the facilitation of the panel, I figure like I'll just step in and just do that. I know both of those folks, obviously. Just need someone to be a timekeeper. Can anybody volunteer to do that? I will keep time.
I can help with the time, Primo.
Okay, thanks, Talicia. And then in terms of the Talicia, I mean, what was your thinking around breakout groups versus just doing 2 separate, whatchamacallits, 2 separate presentations? So for Khalid, for you as well, we'll need to either do two breakout rooms and then switch the breakout rooms basically. So we'd have 2 simultaneous kind of presentations going on, and then we'd want to switch the participants, but keep the facilitators. Is that possible?
I believe so. I will admit it would be my first time managing breakout rooms, but I'll also make you co-host as well. So
yeah, Jamie, do you know how to do that?
I know how to facilitate breakout rooms. So if you want to also add me as a co-host, I can help with that.
That would be great.
Cool. We have a great deck that Talicia put together. Talicia, were you thinking we would do 2 breakout rooms and then switch them?
Yeah, I think that's what we had discussed. I think also it depends on how many kids actually show up.
Yep.
And then we can also just go with the flow then.
Yeah, I think we'll have at least 15, 20. And if we have, in the ballpark of 20, we might as well just do 2 breakout rooms. Yeah. I think Jamie may be correct about breakout rooms not being able to be facilitated. And we do have a chat though. Okay. All right. I need to email some more people this correct link.
Yeah, I'm not ultimately sure where to find where the link is placed in the Eventbrite, to be honest. I haven't had my hands in this one. But I will send you the link information, Primo. Actually, I just emailed it to the same.
I have the link information. We have it. Jamie, can you dig into the Eventbrite? Do you need the login information?
I'm just going to email all the attendees the link from the Eventbrite.
Great, please do. Thank you.
Something that can be done if we allow them to have the privilege to move from room to room, then we can just announce when it's time for them to switch and then they can switch into the room so we don't have to worry about that.
Right, or we could just ask the presenters to switch, but that may be complicated. Maybe we should just bring everybody back at a certain time and then break them out again. I don't know what the smartest way to do this is, but I feel like asking the students to switch will be complex.
So then, yeah, I think that makes sense. We could ask the presenters to switch rooms.
Okay, let me see. If I make Primo the host, I think I lose my host privileges. So give me 1 second to just give this a try. Yeah, I lose my hosting privileges. So Primo, I made you host and I lost my hosting privileges.
Okay. I'll probably pass this around as we approach the breakout room piece, but I have the power to make either Talicia or Jamie the breakout room manager. Jamie, do you feel comfortable doing this room switch thing? I know you do this all the time at work.
Yeah, I'm happy to, but just note that I have to hop off at 6:45. So are they done by then or no?
Yeah, both of our breakout rooms will be done by 6:40. So
Yep.
you let us know when you have to go and we'll officially know to come back for the 15-minute finale.
Yep. And are they happening randomly or manually?
The breakout rooms,
Mhm.
I would say just split it evenly and then switch them. Do you know what I mean? So randomly, but numerically.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then everyone here just knows to decline unless you want to go into the room.
Right. Good point.
And so are we thinking about 30 minutes for each thing, like 30 minutes for the panel, 30 for room 1 and 30 for room 2?
20 for both rooms, because we'll do 30 for the panel and then 6:20, 6 o'clock to 6:20, and then 6:20 to 6:40, and then bring everybody back.
I'm showing somebody in the waiting room right now. Do you guys see that?
Yes, I do. I see Shanae in the waiting room.
Okay.
Shanae, welcome. Thank you for being on our panel.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it should be good. We'll get this Zoom situation sorted out.
It's all good.
You brought the Brooklyn Nets gear.
I did. I was like, should I wear this? Should I just wear something in Brooklyn?
No, it's on brand. Your folks have been calling me trying to get me to sign up for season tickets the last few weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
They pushed that product, man. Woo!
Well, we haven't had anything this exciting in a long time, so.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting year. Does anybody know Caleb Butcher? No? All right, so maybe she's a student who signed on early. Steve. All right, well, at least we have our panelists here. That's a good start. Jamie, let me know when you've been able to email the link out to folks. Already done? Ace, thanks. Steve, shrouded in darkness and mystery. Okay, there we go.
Right here, did it work? My camera turned on?
You're here, it worked.
Trying to get my screens right. Shut this email down. All right, happy to be here.
Okay. Thank you for joining us on such short notice. Really appreciate it. Excited for you to, talk to the kids about entrepreneurship. Just I guess a brief overview everything that brings us here. This is some members of Community Board 9. We serve largely like Crown Heights and I guess Lefferts Gardens.
I believe it's my community board here at Oxalis.
I think it is. I think you're in Community Board 9. You might be in Community Board 8, but I'm pretty sure you're in Community
I'm
Board
pretty
9.
sure. It's nice to meet you all.
Yeah. Steve is the owner over at Oxalis restaurant on Washington. If you haven't been there, you should check it out. It's the only restaurant in the district with a Michelin star. So
That's great. What are cross streets?
Washington and Lincoln Place.
All right. Okay, we'll definitely check it out if we can get
Yeah,
in.
let's drop by.
And I sent you both kind of like 3 questions that I'll ask you, I'll facilitate, and then we'll open it up to the students if they have any questions. And then we will kind of transition into the rest of the event, which y'all don't need to stick around for. I mean, if you have any interest, of course, you're welcome to, but it should be kind of high school financial literacy. So pretty sure you're ahead of the curve on that one. Woo! All right.
Emma, will you
Great,
be
though.
sharing the presentation?
I can share the presentation, but you can share the presentation as co-host. And I feel like you're going to be running show, so I have made you the co-host of this meeting. A good sized group here. Steve, where are you right now? Is this your house?
I'm in the back of the Oxalis bar, actually.
Okay.
And, you know,
Ah, oh, you walled it in.
yeah, we've walled it in. We're actually getting a big, like drooping planters up there soon. So it's gonna be a big level up for us.
It's very, very Brooklyn appropriate.
Yeah, you know, we were trying to stay away from the hipster vibe, but you know, you have to give the people what they want. That's what we've learned.
Inevitable. It's inevitable. Have you been to Sisters? I feel like they have a similar vibe.
Yes, yeah. That's a beautiful space.
Yeah, it really is. That bar is incredible.
You got a nice background yourself.
Thanks. Yeah, this is the Casa. It's the house. I guess that we never made it over here, but we'll have to.
Yeah,
we'll have
yeah.
to do that one day. Talicia, do you need anything before we dive in? Are you feeling good to go?
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
In terms of the financial literacy presenters, do we have 2? Do they know that they're sharing the space?
Yes, we have 2.
Okay, cool. Make sure that the person from today has the updated link as well.
Oh, I never sent them a link.
Okay.
Okay.
I can put it in the chat if that's helpful.
No, I can get it from the
You
email.
got it, okay. I feel like we may take a hit on attendance because of the Zoom link issue if Eventbrite sent out a separate link. We had the community board's account management or whatever of Zoom switched over, and we didn't realize it until today that there was a new link. So rough. But there are 2 students in the waiting room, so you'll have an audience at a minimum.
So what's the plan if there's just like less than, let's say, like 15 or?
Then we'll probably keep it in one room in terms of the middle presentation section of the financial literacy and the resume.
Right, makes sense. Hey man, it's the age of the pandemic. Anything can go wrong anytime. You know, I've been
Right.
in rooms with 3-4 people many times as a high school teacher. And where are they? I don't know. They didn't show up.
They're not here. All right, we got a third. Oh, it's Linda. I'm gonna maybe admit the students just so that we don't lose anybody. Talicia, are you gonna hook us up with some DJ vibes?
Yeah, I could do that also. We can also message them to let them know that we'll be letting them in soon. I can do
Okay.
that.
I will message them.
Great. I'm just gonna hide myself. You know, we don't want to intimidate weird adults, right?
Steve, how's everything going with the new restaurant now that I have you for 2 minutes?
It's going well. It's going well. I mean, we've been, I think I sent an email. You got that? Just to make sure the list worked? Maybe
I didn't, no.
Ooh, okay, let me follow up on that. But it's good. Getting Oxalis back open was a little bit of a lift, but we have been kind of investing a lot of time and energy to kind of building the management team over here. So they should be able to take on a lot more as we kind of transition over there, which should be good. We've been negotiating with the landlord over on that Green Avenue space for a while, very slowly, but then we found out that one of our friends is friends with his son. So we have worked our way in to kind of really kind of getting deep in our discussions, which is really nice. So
Nice.
it's good. It's good. Really, it's exciting. I think there's a lot of energy behind it. I think that everybody kind of feels the businesses coming back, and that normalcy, I think, is it's all around us.
Yeah, no, it does, it's starting to feel that way.
Yeah, Oxalis we opened 2 weeks ago, and it's been really good.
Crystal and I will come through soon. We gotta get back together.
Yeah, we should.
All right, Talicia, I think I might let them in. Think that's all right? 1 sec. Oh, you're on mute, but. Okay.
I may not be able to do the music while I have the screen shared. That might be good.
All right. I'm
Buddy.
letting them in. We may have lost one. Hi, Linda.
Hi. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Not bad. Hold on.
All right, we had a little snafu with the Zoom link, which may hurt us on attendance, but hopefully folks will show up. We got some people trickling in.
Okay.
We'll give it, Steve and Sinead just needed, we'll give it like another 2 minutes now that it just turned 5:30, just to like let everyone come in. So take your time. Okay, all right, we got some people coming in. That's good.
Okay, Talisa, you want me to do anything?
Yeah, if you want to play some music, that would be great.
I don't, I don't know how to do the music. I don't want to be having it up what you call it, the ad saying skip.
We gotta get you some Spotify Premium.
Right.
Hello to all of the students who are joining us. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate your time. Excited to see you here. We are going to kick off our panel in just 2 or 3 minutes. We have some additional folks joining us. So we're just going to give it a few minutes while people trickle in through that with the Zoom link confusion. So just give us a moment. Jesse, hello. Thank you for joining us. We got a good group here. We're going to do a career panel first, and then we will get into some financial readiness with your excellent presenters. I still have students joining us, which is great to see coming in. Thanks again for all the students joining us. We're excited to dig into this event tonight. My name is Primo. I serve on the community board, and then we have lots of other community board members here. We're going to bring you through this experience over the next hour and a half where we'll really get you excited for financial literacy. I'm just going to give it 2 more minutes. We'll get started at 5:35. Oh, we don't have any music, but that's okay because it's only 2 minutes. Where is the link, sir? There we go. There is the link. Yes, please fill out the survey. That would be great. This will be your raffle ticket. It'll be a raffle ticket. We're going to do a raffle at the end of this. We're going to send folks gift cards who have filled out the survey. So please fill out that survey that you see in the chat.
Does that apply to the panelists? Are we a part of the survey?
You just might be. Fill it out. It's another tough one too. It's such a beautiful day. I'm sure lots of students are out enjoying the weather, and I appreciate all the panelists who came through and presenters given the beautiful weather. Okay, we got somebody else joining us. Got about 20 people in here.
If you're just joining us, welcome. In the chat is a survey for you to fill out. That will be how you enter yourself in the raffle at the end.
Let me take some notes.
And then after you do the survey, you can respond to the questions that are in the chat and let us know what's your name, how old are you, and what's your preference? Would you rather work for someone else or be your boss?
Please know them, your future Wolfgang Kill.
All right, 5:34. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Hi, Namra. I love what you put in the chat. Thank you for that. I too would rather be my own boss, and so maybe our panelists will explain to us how to achieve that. All right, we got 22 folks here. I would say let's get started. Greg, thank you for entering your ideas into the chat. Really appreciate that. I'm just going to kick things off, and we'll start to hear from our highly esteemed panelists. Talicia, did you want to say anything for the open that you have here?
Not yet, but definitely when we get into the introductions for our financial literacy speakers, yes.
Okay, sounds good. So just to kind of introduce things, if you could go to the next slide, we'll get into kind of our panelists here, and we'll say a little bit about CB9. So this is the Community Board 9 Youth Committee. You can see the map there down at the bottom, which includes parts of Prospect Lefferts Gardens, Flatbush, and Crown Heights going up to Eastern Parkway. That's kind of the neighborhood boundary map for Community Board 9. The community boards exist all over New York City, and they exist so that more members of the community can have their voices heard when it comes to how the city uses their resources. And you can get involved by joining our meetings on the first Tuesday of every month. And for all of the students who have joined us, we'd also love to have your participation on this committee. Part of what we do is offer events like this to make sure that we are filling some of the spaces that may exist outside of school, some opportunities to learn about skills that are really important in life. And then during our first event, the students in the community told us that they wanted to learn more about financial literacy so that they could be equipped to move forward into their future successfully. And so that's exactly why we hosted this event. We're going to do a few things over the course of the next hour and 20 minutes. We're going to hear from two folks who have incredible careers here in Brooklyn. And if you could just show us their profiles, maybe, Talisa, that'd be super helpful. We have Shanae Rivers and Steve Wong. Shanae works for the Nets as an entertainment manager, and Steve is an entrepreneur and restaurateur here in the neighborhood. He is the co-owner and director of operations for a restaurant called Oxalis. So Steve is his own boss in some ways. He answers to the shareholders as well. But both of them are going to answer a few questions for us about what it is like to be, a working adult. And then we can open it up for questions from the group. So if you have any questions, you can also put them in the chat and we can ask them. But we're just going to start off with some basic questions. So I'll ask Shanae and Steve to introduce themselves and say a little bit about kind of how you got where you are. So I'll call on Shanae first, and maybe you can just give us a minute about your trajectory.
Thank you, Primo. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you for having me. This is such a privilege and a pleasure. So I'm very thankful to be here. So just want to say that. Like Primo mentioned, my name is Shanae Rivers. I am the entertainment manager of the Brooklyn Nets. So what I do essentially is assist in overseeing all of our entertainment teams. So our Brooklyn Nets dance team, our Nets Kids dance team, our hype team, and our drum line. So when you come to the game and the whole production you see, that's my team. We put all of that on. I've been doing that for 5 seasons now, but I've been at the Nets for 6 seasons. So it's been a crazy journey, but a really, really dope opportunity. How I got to where I am. I'm originally from Chicago, and I always knew I wanted to be in the sports industry, but I also wanted to dance. And I did not know that there was an actual position where you can explore both opportunities. I played basketball growing up, and I've also danced growing up. So it's just amazing that it all came together. I went to Northern Illinois University, and my plan was to come to New York, go to NYU, get my sports business degree. That was the dream, and then dance on the side. But the universe had other plans for me, and I was able to skip that step and go straight into the sports industry. So I saw that there were opportunities at the Nets, just utilizing LinkedIn, which is a very, very important tool. So I encourage you, even though you're in high school, to still explore that, at least learn a little bit about it. But I saw that there was a position available via Teamworks Online. And then I reached out to the hiring manager via LinkedIn. And next thing I knew, she was like, well, send me your resume. And I interviewed. And literally I had like 2 weeks to move to New York, and I've been in Brooklyn ever since. So this is literally my first big girl job, and I've been here ever since. I started off in sales just as a foot in the door, I knew that sales wasn't something that I wanted to do. And I also had kind of like a negative thought about sales. But honestly, I'm so grateful for that opportunity because I got to learn a lot about myself. I got to learn a lot about New Yorkers. Y'all are tough. And but it definitely helped shape me into a better person and helped me grow into the woman I am today. And through my opportunity with the Nets and working with the Nets, I've been able to explore so many other things. So that's just a little bit of how I got to where I am. I'll hand it over to Steve because I can talk all day about it.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining and for inviting me as well. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be here. So my road to where I am is a little bit more, it's a long road and it's a little bit windy, so I'll try to move quickly. I'm originally from the Bay Area in San Jose, actually in California. I've been in New York for 10 years now. And I am a restaurant owner of a restaurant based here in Brooklyn. And outside of that, I also actually am a manager at a nonprofit that invests in small businesses. So I am kind of split between the restaurant industry and kind of the finance and nonprofit world. I actually started college in California at pre-med, decided it wasn't for me. It just wasn't very satisfying. So changed my major to something called community studies that was really based in kind of social change, social good work, really nonprofits in general. And I actually double majored in added economics just because I felt that my parents would kind of want me to also have either a medical or business degree or something. And it was just something I said, you know what, I'll just do it. That work sent me to Buenos Aires, actually. So I went during college, I studied abroad in Buenos Aires, working with these companies that's in Argentina, in South America, working with a few businesses that were owned by the community, by the workers that worked there, called worker cooperatives, just to learn about these different types of small businesses that weren't traditional, where the owners just had employees. Everybody that worked at these businesses were part owners. So I went to Buenos Aires to learn about these companies and ended up getting a job with a nonprofit there called The Working World, which is a nonprofit that invests in these small worker and employee-owned businesses. So that was in Buenos Aires. I moved from Buenos Aires to New York, and I kept in touch with the company and helped them open their company here in New York. So here I am, just moved to New York, helped this nonprofit kind of open its doors and look for companies to invest in. And this was 10 years ago, I moved to New York, and over the last 5 years, we grew a lot as a nonprofit. I was there kind of on the bottom as kind of a loan agent for them. And then eventually, as the company grew, I moved up as I was more experienced and kind of joined the management of the company. At the same time, about 4 years ago, I'd already been in this nonprofit for 5-6 years and was looking to do something different. I wanted to be my own boss, actually, so I decided to quit. I had a conversation with a good friend from high school, actually, a best friend from high school that was also in New York, who had experience as a chef at some really nice restaurants in the city. And we decided to try to open our own restaurant. On my end, I had a lot of experience looking at a lot of different small companies as a loan agent for this nonprofit. I had a good understanding of what a business financials should look like, what some considerations would be. And it was a really long road. Again, we started 4 years ago. We didn't have any money or any experience owning our own restaurants, so we started small. We started by building a brand. We did pop-up dinners across Brooklyn, marketing ourselves on Instagram and writing food writers and begging them to write about us. So we did that for about 2 years, just kind of building a name for ourselves. The first year and the second year, we started fundraising. That 2-year process, it was a really long and slow process, but eventually 2 years ago, we opened our own restaurant here. So, it took a really long road, and, it was an interesting path to get here with the restaurant. But it's been 2 years now, and we're a fairly successful restaurant. And I'm actually still working at the nonprofit after I quit to open the restaurant. Because of my experience, they asked me to stay on with them. So, I essentially have 2 different jobs, one at the restaurant, and then also still working for this nonprofit, helping them with their investments. So it's a lot.
It's a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. And thank you so much, Sinead, for answering that. I think just to get a sense of kind of how you get joy out of the work that you do, what's the thing that you enjoy most about your job and in your workplace? And I'll pass it over to Sinead first.
Yeah, thank you, Primo. Well, there's a few things. What I enjoy the most, honestly, is working with people and creatives who live and breathe their passion and their purpose. And it's definitely changed my perspective, right? Like, we grow up thinking you do this so that you can make a lot of money and survive. And of course, money is important. But you'll find that when you are in a place that you're not living out your purpose, it can be really hard. And so it's such a blessing, like as a creative myself, to be around other creators and who are just so happy doing what they do. Now, we have our hard days, of course, and it can be a lot. We can have grueling seasons, but to watch them just live out their purpose, to create memories for others, is such a powerful experience for me. And so I really enjoy that. And also just being able to create memories for people who come into the arena and outside of the arena. And pre-COVID, getting to travel the world. I've got the opportunity to travel for global games, gone to China. We've been able to go to Africa, Brazil, all of these amazing places. And to really kind of put our stamp globally has been really, really cool. So just being able to live in your purpose and walk in your purpose, which in turn helped me do the same, right? So yes, I work for the Brooklyn Nets and have that space, but I've been able to find Sinead out that space, and I've created my own business on the side and done things on the side and have people who truly support me and my art the same way I do for them.
I think that reflects a lot on me in terms of, being able to participate in creative process. I definitely am someone that also, I feel very fortunate to do something that I'm passionate about. I think, when it comes to a restaurant, I mean, a lot of people love restaurants because they love food and they're very passionate about the art. For me, I love being the owner of my own business because it lets me problem solve throughout the day on all sorts of different things that I get to kind of have a really broad view of I do everything from marketing the restaurant to helping hire people to help training people to doing accounting. So it lets me kind of participate in a lot of different spaces, and that's something I really enjoy. It never gets boring. And I will say I really enjoy flexibility of working for myself for the most part. As the restaurant here, nobody dictates my hours, and I can be as involved as I want to be. And then also for the working world, even though I quit the nonprofit, when they brought me back, I was fortunate enough to negotiate a role that was on the management side that let me have my own schedule. And, it gave me very clear ways to report where, I don't have to be at the office 9 to 5 days a week, even before the pandemic. So that flexibility in my life has been really something that I've always really enjoyed.
Excellent, thank you. And if anybody in the audience has any questions that they'd like to ask, you can feel free to write them in the chat. And so just one last question for our panelists from me is kind of what do you do outside of work that adds to your financial health, or as something that also just brings you happiness, because work isn't our whole lives.
Steve, do you want to go first or?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I do a lot of reading. I like to work on developing different skills of mine that aren't necessarily just related to the restaurant or my work at the nonprofit. I think that broadening my horizon about different perspectives about things can be really helpful for me. So I'd say that's something I spend a lot of time doing.
Yeah, the same. I think I've changed my mindset about money, kind of like I mentioned earlier, and realized that doing meaningful things and purposeful things, the money will come, which allows me to use it as a resource as opposed to just purely a reward. So like Steve, I've joined Skillshare so that I can sharpen different skills. So outside of the nets, I do makeup. So I'm a makeup artist on the side. I've created my own brand and business. I do YouTube videos. So any way I can be creative. I did a weekend job. I grabbed a weekend job around health and wellness. So I really wanted to change my lifestyle. So I'm just doing and trying different things to expand my skill set and myself as a person. And being able to kind of tap in, and I'm going to have to connect with Steve off of this. Learning to tap into your own business is crazy. It's a lot of work, but it's like my passion project. And I want to be able to create something that's going to outlive me, that will benefit others. And I created a platform called Unmute Black Voices. Obviously, the past year has been a very tough year. So being able to create a space where people can come, allies, people of color, everyone can come to a space and really talk about what we're going through in a safe and transparent environment has been so fulfilling to me. So not only does it keep me financially sane, but also mentally and creatively sane. So just doing things that my heart is drawn to has really helped me out.
That. We have a great question in the chat here from Judy Collins, which says, how do you figure out, we got two questions. How do you figure out what you want to do without studying everything? Which is an interesting question, right? Most colleges only let you pick one or two majors. So kind of how did you pick a major from college and what to study? And then a second question around how do you start your own business and be your own boss? Is there a flow chart or something, a tool that shows us how to do that? So those are two very different questions, but I'll let you answer them. I would say personally, for the college question, I studied what made me happiest, and that was like, the thing that I just enjoyed learning about, and it has served me very well. It made me a more successful college student. But I'll pass it over to Steve and to Shanae. Who's up first? Shanae's ready. Okay, go ahead.
I can answer the first question about how do you figure out what to do. So for me, I again, like I've always been a creative person, and I studied marketing and dance in college. And so dance, of course, naturally, that's where my heart is. So that's fun, right? And again, purpose, right? And as far as marketing goes, I figured that it would be important to a business degree. You can use that for anything, right? It's transferable. And studying marketing specifically because it's more of a creative space, that was something that I can understand the business of the business side of things, but I can also create and learn how to connect with people and how to understand the mind. So I think it's just like knowing yourself and knowing what you like to do. And so you can, like Primo mentioned, so you can set yourself up to have a successful college experience, and then you will apply that to life as well. And also it's okay if you don't know what you want to do right away, because as Steve also mentioned, like life changes, the course of life changes. People think they want to be a doctor and then end up owning their own restaurant. So it's okay. Like life is going to take you where your purpose is. So that would be my little tidbit for that question.
Yeah, on my end, I think that's a really good question about how to figure out what you want to study. And, I agree with what's been said that, following your passion and, what interests you is a really good way. I like to say, do what comes easy to you, what you find enjoyable. And the only other note I'll add is, it's really great to pick two majors, but to make sure that those majors overlap. There's a lot of value, and those are very high-paying jobs for people that have two different two competencies that are related. For example, if I decided to study law and I also study technology, right, where they need specialists that can really have a deeper say and a more detailed look, or if you studied science and you studied law, or if you science and math, but figuring out two kind of majors that have some kind of overlap on a Venn diagram somewhere and making yourself a specialist there is really important. In terms of how to start your own business, how to be your own boss, the first big one is that, have a plan, and you have to have a business that works. There's so many people that have, it's so easy to be creative and think that the thing that you like, everybody else will like, but that's not necessarily true. So you have to do a little research. You have to make sure that there is a market for what you're doing and what you're trying to sell, and then making a business plan to show that you can make more doing that than you're spending, right? So that's the first part of it. And then second, in terms of a flow chart, there are a lot of services, the small business services, the small business administration. There are all sorts of city agencies that can really help. They can give you one-on-one career sessions. I think it's called Skill. There's different counselors that can help you in the city. And most people here on the community board and in your network will be able to point you to a lot of these resources that exist. But the small business services is a really great place to start.
I just wanted to add one more thing as far as like starting your own business goes. I like to look at entrepreneurs as problem solvers. So like, of course you do, you do what's passionate to yourself, but like Steve mentioned, you want to do something that works. So whatever it is that you're doing, if you see that there's something missing, be a problem solver and figure out how can I create something to fix this problem, because if I'm feeling this way, other people are probably feeling the same way. And I think just thinking about that has even helped me in my own entrepreneur venture as well.
See, Fred Baptiste has come to join us and also has taken himself off mute. Did you have something you wanted to add, Fred?
That me coming off mute was that by accident, but I'm just sitting here. I'm just amazed by, first of all, the panelists. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And I'm listening to the questions as well, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I think it's always great if you're one of those people who's blessed to be strategic in terms of you can figure out where you want to be at the age of 19 and 20. I think you're really ahead of the game. But you may be like me, and it's like you don't figure out that path later on. All is not lost. I think what the benefit of getting an education is it gives you a solid platform, so that way you can always pivot. You know what? When you have your degree, if you want to change, it's usually a matter of a few classes, a few courses, or whatever else. So you have your whole life ahead of you to make those decisions. I think that one of the things I lament about when I was coming up from a West Indian household, the choices were, so when you go to school, you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. Those are the choices that anybody wanted to hear. But there is so much more out in the world, and especially the world has gotten even bigger since when I was in school. So, I think the best advice I could say is just to have fun with the process. Try, see what it is you like, see where your passions are. Because on the other hand, I know doctors and lawyers who are miserable. They did the program and they did everything, but they're miserable at the same time. And I know some other people who have made other choices, or they've left themselves open, and they're having the time of their lives, and they're still recreating themselves even 20 or 30 years later into a career. But that's all I wanted to say, and I'm just happy to be able to join you today, and this is fantastic. And I'm going to go back on mute.
Thanks, Fred. We got one last question in the chat that I think is great, and then we're going to transition to our breakout rooms. I see that all of our presenters are here, but I think if you guys could provide some guidance, Namra put a great question in the chat, which is, what should you do to work your way up before college? So thinking about what people can do during high school to gain some skills.
I can jump in here. You know, the first thing that came to mind for me is to be willing to reach out to potential mentors or people that are experts in the field that you're in. And to do that, you know, in a way that, you know, don't be scared to pick up the phone or drop into their office or send them an email. But don't do it in a way that's entitled to say, look, you need to give me a meeting and we need to, you know, I deserve to have this conversation with you. It's much better to approach it from a curious standpoint. Be interested in what they want to tell you. Have good questions about, you know, understanding why you're interested in that, why you want to meet them. And if you approach it from that really natural, honest approach, you'll find that there will be a lot of people willing to mentor you in your life. And that's a really good way to go about that.
Absolutely, I agree. Mentorship is so important. And to start young and learning how to nurture relationships, it will take you very far. Also, like, get involved in your local clubs. Like, when I was in high school, I did sports and all the clubs imaginable, international days, anything I could do. And it really helped me with my leadership, like my leadership skills. I was also I was on the dance team, I was on the track team, I did basketball. Like, being in a team setting really helped me. Just being involved in different ways, but I definitely agree. I think mentorship and relationship building, as well as getting as involved as you can, because those skills really do come up. Like, I work for a corporation and we have diversity and inclusion programs. So literally the employees, we are leaders of our groups. And it makes me think about high school or college when I was in these groups, and we had our treasurer, we had our president, and you just learn how to lead, and you can tap into different skill sets by joining those things.
Love that. Thank you for this great guidance, all these great answers to these questions. Agree about everything said. But it's 6:03, so it's time for us to pivot to our next activities. But let's give a digital round of applause for our panelists. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking. Thank you for sharing your experience and your expertise with us. And so I will hand it over to the wonderful Talicia Felder to lead us through our next portion.
Hi, everybody. Yes, thank you to the panelists. You guys have said so much that I constantly say to my students. So I'm happy that some of them are here to hear it from other people and not just me. But yes, now we are going into our breakout rooms. I'm sensing we have about 5 or 7 students in the room. So I'm thinking maybe we don't need to do breakout rooms. Is that correct? Can we just, in the chat really quickly, if you're a student, can you just say me so we know how many are here?
Looks like we have about 10, maybe 12. So maybe we should, what do you think, we should stay?
I'm thinking maybe stay just to make it simpler. Yeah. All right, guys. So we are going to have 2 sessions. One will be a resume and interview readiness session. And then we have our financial literacy session. So let's just briefly learn about our presenters. So for our resume workshop, we have Shane Bernstein Lazar, who is the Associate Director of Career Development Services at Hunter College. Prior to joining Hunter College, she was a strategic staffing manager for Pfizer. She also has many years of experience in human resources, recruiting for positions in the technology, business, and consumer products industries. She currently lives in Manhattan with her family and enjoys knitting in her free time. So we want to welcome Shane. Thank you, Shane. We look forward to hearing from you. And then we're going to move into our financial literacy workshop. But I think maybe we should start off with the resume, and then we can move on from there. How does that sound? Shane, are you ready?
Sure, thank you so much. And yes, that was a nice, thank you for that introduction. So I do work at Hunter College, and do I have the ability to share my screen? Yes, okay.
You should have the option now.
Okay. And so I did want to pull up because, you know, I could easily do a PowerPoint presentation, but I think it's nice to go to the Career Development Services website of Hunter College, because a lot of this information, whether you're a Hunter student or not, you can go back to this website. So you don't have to feverishly take down notes or things like that. You know, a lot of this information you certainly can go back to. So if you just went to hunter.cuny.edu and you click on students and you scroll down to opportunities, you will see career development services. And once you get to our website and you click on students over here, or you could click on alumni, you're going to get to these boxes. And so here, you know, I was asked today to really focus on resumes, and we'll tap into some cover letters because they kind of, it's like peanut butter and jelly. But, you know, I did also see on there that there was some interview stuff as well. So, you know, if we have time, we can kind of browse this section of our website as well, but also to know that there's a lot of interview information here that you can also tap into. So in clicking on the resume and cover letter section of our website, this is where you can access a lot of information. And students today don't like to read so much. They're reading all the time. You can certainly watch this video at any time, but I will kind of go into some of the helpful tips and the essentials that I think are important in a resume. And so, you know, why do we put a resume together? I'm used to doing workshops, also where there's direct sort of communication with students. So I wasn't really sure how this workshop was being run. So if students do have any questions, or sometimes I like to ask questions of people. So if people want to chime in, certainly feel free to unmute yourselves and maybe chime in. But, you know, really, what is the job of the resume? And I like to think of it as your vehicle. It is simply the document that is a factual document that you are putting together to ultimately land you that interview. That resume is really never going to get you the job. Your interviewing skills and how you are able to communicate your skills and abilities will ultimately get you the job. But the resume, the role of the resume is to get you in front of that organization or recruiter or HR manager or hiring manager. And so the idea of a resume is that it's easy to read. Put yourself in the role of an HR professional. Think about perhaps maybe for one opening, and I like to go back to my days at Pfizer because Pfizer is a very popular organization. People want to work there. It's got a wonderful reputation. And so for one job posting, we might get 300 to 500 resumes for a particular opening. And so you want to think, is my resume easy to read? What is the resume telling the person about me? Is it relevant Do I need to have all of this information? And so typically, if you are what we like to call, your sort of typical college graduate, you're having a one-page resume. If you are a non-typical college student or graduate, then maybe you're a job changer, maybe you worked for many years and then coming back and getting your degree, or you're putting your resume together and you have a lot of work experience, you can have a 2-page resume. But by no means, I have 25 years of experience. Even in all of that experience, I am not putting together more than a 2-page resume. So you have to think, what is relevant and how long am I creating my resume? You want to make sure that you're just having the essentials, and you want to really understand the role. So the resume doesn't necessarily change based on the position you are applying for. Like I said earlier, right? Cover letters and resumes are like peanut butter and jelly. That is where you are changing and you are modifying and you are customizing based on the job that you are applying for. But your resume is a factual document. You did this at this time, and these were your responsibilities or skills gained, your accomplishments, and your role. And you did it from, let's say, April of 2018 to February of 2020, right? It's a set time. And so you want to make sure that you have all of those facts and they are represented truthfully, accurately on your resume, because this is also a document that employers can go back and fact check. So you have to make sure that if you are not sure the dates that you worked at a particular employer, you can go back to that employer. You can find out the month and year that you started. It will be on your record. You don't want to sort of guess it. So you really want to make sure that your resume is accurate. Very important on resumes, and I see this all the time, is that people just sort of think the body of my resume, from the education to the experience to the skills to the extracurriculars, that's what's really important. And many people have errors right in their contact information. So your contact information, your name, your street address, your email address, all plays another critical role on your resume. You don't want to have hot mama 3 at yahoo.com. My husband likes to call me that, but but that certainly will not be on my resume as my email address. And so you really have to make sure that you have a professional email address. Sometimes I say create an email that maybe is just going to be for your job searching. So it's a variation of your name. It's not too lengthy. It's not all of these numbers and digits and signs, that it's really something easy. And maybe you're using that email address to keep yourself organized so that when your correspondence is regarding job searching, you're going directly to that email. And so all of your other email, if you want to have that other kind of email, use that for your friends, use that for all of your, stores that you're going to sign up for, and all that junk email that you get. So you really want to make sure. Another thing, in your contact information, I cannot tell you how many times people write their street addresses wrong. If you live on 54th Street, then street, the S in street, needs to be capitalized. You have to know where the commas belong. The comma does not belong between the state and the zip code. The comma belongs between the city and the state. So these are all the little things that you probably are like, well, what is the difference really? But what matters as an HR professional as I'm looking at that is that now I know if that person pays attention to detail. Because right off the bat, if you can't even get your own address right, and put a capital letter or put a comma where it's supposed to be? How detail oriented are you going to be in some sort of business correspondence or other things that you're going to be tasked to do? So contact information, professionalism starts at the top of your resume with all of that information.
And we had a raised hand from Fred. Fred, did you want to ask a question or add something?
No, I just wanted to really thank you, Shane, for saying that. I work as a manager for the city, so I've sat on a number of hiring panels. And I will tell you from experience, you'll get it, this is real. If in your cover letter you've already got 5 or 6 typos or you misspelled several things, those automatically get chucked. Automatically. And that's if you already have somebody physically, if they even made it past the computer screening. So it's, you know, that attention to detail is really critical. There's a saying, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. So if your first impression is bad, you know, that's it. So you just want to make sure you're taking that time to make sure this represents you and the kind of person you're going to be and the asset that you're saying you're going to be to whatever organization you're applying for. Sorry, but thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying all this.
No, thank you, Fred, for confirming that. So it really is so true. I am not a huge fan. This is where resumes also are highly subjective. So in terms of the specific format that you want to craft your resume, there are going to be hiring managers that, you know, tend to like it this way or that way. That's the human part in this process that we can't really know. But I am not a huge fan of objectives because I do feel that if you are writing that cover letter to that employer, that's taking the place of the objective. So you can just start with the education at the top if you are a recent graduate or 1 year out. If you are a job changer, you've had experience, then your resume gets moved to the bottom of your resume because employers are more interested in your experience and what you've done and your accomplishments than they are in the particular degree that you obtained and the year that you obtained it. So it is important to know that, you know, starting off, you're going to have your resume at top. It's your greatest accomplishment to date. But then once you gain experience, once you have what I like to call like more meat and potatoes on that resume, more substance, then your education actually gets put to the bottom of the resume. So objectives to me are very sort of hit or miss. If you are an accounting major or you're going into finance or computer science or something that it has a direct related career path, there is no reason to put an objective on your resume. If you're a psychology major and you have multiple directions that you can pursue, you're maybe going to pursue marketing, or you're going to pursue communications in a publishing company, or you're going to work in sports, or you're going to work at a consumer products company, or you're going to decide to do research, then you might want to put an objective because it sort of targets, you know, what it is that you're seeking when you have a more broad-based liberal arts degree. So it can really go either way, and that's sort of subjective on a resume. Your education, again, it's very important to state the degree that you received. So know if you are receiving a Bachelor of Science, or know if you are receiving a Bachelor of Arts from your particular school. And you don't need to, you can list if you are the recipient of a scholarship, or if your GPA is a 3.0 or higher, then you can list that under the education section. Here in this example, you'll see a minor. Most colleges today, you're not even asked to declare a minor. So you're likely only going to have that major. You can also list related coursework. So maybe you're lacking in experience a little bit. You can list related coursework within that major. And you are only listing the month and the year that you are graduating. I don't need to know if it took you 6 years to graduate or if it took you 4 years to graduate. So only the date that the month and the year So that's important to also understand.
And Shane, I just wanted to name that we only have a few minutes left for this
Sorry.
portion. If there are any last important, in your last 4 or 5 minutes that you
Sure.
can make.
Yes.
Go for it.
So experience, this is the most important part of your resume. You want those bullet points to start off with actionable things. So use an action verb to start off the bullet points. Make sure your tenses are correct. If you're presently in that job, then you want to start that bullet point in the present tense. If you're no longer in that job, you want to make sure that that bullet point is in the past tense. You also want to make sure that those bullet points have substance. What did you accomplish there? What skills did you obtain? So you want to make sure that those bullet points are results oriented. I don't want to see a bullet point that says answered phones. You can have a bullet point that is far more descriptive in terms of developed strong communication skills, dealing with international clients by answering the phones, right? So you can think about how you can really talk about those skills obtained and those accomplishments. Skills is another important section on your resume. We want to know that you can do the work. So especially if you're going into some sort of financial fields, it's more, you don't want to just list Excel, but maybe you have pivot tables. Maybe you know macros. So you want to include the advanced functions of Excel. Any computer science students, you want to list out all of those programs, hardware, software. You really want to make sure that you're listing them out. Any additional categories can be leadership skills, can be professional associations. Professional associations are wonderful. I highly recommend them. You can learn a lot about a field. You can also tap into networking through them. So professional associations can be a wealth of information, and they can be a resume builder because you can add them to your resume. And then references, you are not putting the name of anybody on your resume. You're not putting their contact information on your resume. You are simply just listing references at the bottom. Sometimes you don't even need to have that at the bottom of your resume if you're going to have your skills at the bottom of your resume. So that's resume sort of in a nutshell. All of this information, by the way, is on the Career Development Services website. You can access it. Same thing with cover letters. I'll do a quick thing about cover letters. This is where you need to customize. Please take the time. You might not customize on every single cover letter, but that job that you are really excited about, that you want, take the time to research. Understand what that role is that you are applying for and showcase how you are going to add value to that employer in that cover letter. It's not what the employer can do for you. It's about what you are going to do in that role for that employer. So you've got to know what is the role. You've got to understand what that is. You've got to understand the organization or what they're doing or the specific job title and responsibilities. So that's really important within the cover letter. And that's what you are customizing. That's what you are changing. But like I said in the beginning, your resume is truly a factual document. So you're really not changing it all that much. That should not be where you're spending your time. Once you have a well-formatted resume that's easy to read, that's full of accomplishments, that's results-oriented, you are leaving that. And then you're focusing on the cover letter to really customize it for that particular position or employer. I'll just go to the top for a second, and I know I'm out of time. I'm going to talk really fast. But to me, as a recruiter and working at Pfizer, interviews were what really got you the job. You can have an amazing resume. You can really suck at interviewing. And so it is not going to carry you. You still have to be able to talk about yourself. You have to talk about your skills and abilities and how they relate to doing the job and really selling yourself. Nobody else is there to sell you. This is your time to shine. And so it really is important to understand the art of interviewing. I think it's like dating. It's also a lot of chemistry, but it's also a lot of practice. And so the more mock interviews you do, or practice with a friend, a family member, print out interview questions, have them ask you, do a Zoom with a friend, it can go a long way. So interviewing is very much a practice skill. And here, I invite you again, come to the Career Development Services website. It'll tell you what to do before the interview, how to dress for the interview itself, after, writing a thank you note, sample interview questions. So there they are. You have them right there so you can practice. And then questions that you're going to ask the interviewer. Because if you are on that interview and you have no questions at all, I can tell you, you are likely not going to get that job. And so you really want to have questions for the interviewer. One more thing about resumes and cover letters, you can have mediocre experience and your resume is just okay. You just maybe didn't have the time to do an internship, or you really didn't have the ability to do a lot of working. Your cover letter can push you over the edge. You can write such a compelling cover letter that moves somebody that if your resume is not that great, I still want to meet you. It can do the adverse effect. You can have an amazing cover letter, and if you write, and you can have an amazing resume, and if you write a cover letter that's filled with grammatical errors, run-on sentences, where I can see that you copied and pasted, or you just put very little effort into it, I'm likely not going to call you in for an interview. So that's why I said they are glued together. They work together, and they can really, make all of the difference in getting that interview. So sorry if I took too much.
No, it's okay. Thank you for all of the incredibly valuable information. Yes, you can always come to us also if you need any help with resumes or with interviews. The Youth Services Committee is here to help you. If you just want to reach out to a person and send us your resume, we can read through it for you. Shane, would you mind putting the link to this website in the chat?
Sure.
Super helpful. And I want to say thank you to Shane for all of your expertise and your guidance in this particular area. And I'll pass it back to Licia. Let's give Shane a digital round of applause.
And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you for being here, Shane. So I am going to share my screen again. Give me 1 second. So thank you again, Shane. And in the chat, you have the link. So you can go and check that out for yourself. It seems like a very valuable resource that you should just have in your back pocket at any moment. So now we're gonna move on to our financially lit ladies. Jessie M. Williams, MBA CPA, and Zanella Taylor, MBA CAMS S7. These are two women who I've known since our teenage years, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, very humble beginnings, and are making their way through the financial world in such a remarkable way. So I'm not going to do a lot of long talking. I want to give them enough space to share. So here they are. Jessie and Zanella, feel free to take it away.
Jessie, I believe you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'll go first, I guess. Like was said, I do have some humble beginnings. I'm from the Caribbean, and I always like to say, first and foremost, I am an entrepreneur, then a CPA. I do have my own firm. I own a CPA firm. Is a partnership with myself as the managing partner and a very silent CPA. We do a lot of coaching, a lot of financial planning. I'm breaking out a course right now on just getting a wrap on your finances. We do tax returns. Is a very busy time for me right now. So, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I do enjoy what I do. I do love teaching. I think in my second life, I'm going to come back as a professor, because that's basically what I do as a CPA for my clients. I basically give them the tools that they need to be successful in their business, and just help them with the financial side of things. We all have talents. In other places, they started their own business, and they just wanted to make sure they do what they need to do on the financial side. And that's where I come in, so they could focus on growing their business and being successful. It's a beautiful profession to be in, because everyone needs an accountant. You're always going to be in business. And I do remember, this is charming from our other conversations, and I'll wrap up in 2 seconds. When I started, when I was graduating high school, I went to Tilden High School. The pressure of picking a major was real for me. It basically told me I had to decide right now what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I wasn't ready to do that. Luckily, I had entrepreneurs around me growing up in the Caribbean, and I spoke to one of my uncles, and he said, pick something that would always have a demand. You know, you do get a lot of these advice from a lot of people, and again, that could be overwhelming as well. And one person is telling you do what's always going to be in, you know, in demand, or someone else is telling you, you know, do what you love, and then you have another person tell you, hey, just have fun. It's okay to make a mistake, and it's okay to pick something. It doesn't define who you are for the rest of your life. Because I am finding that I am a teacher, and that's what I do. I coach. So I'm not just a CPA. There's so many things. It's so broad. Once you have a business degree, it's so broad what you could do. And I think that's true to any profession, you know, any profession it is that is never really that, you know, fine tuned. You could always use what you're learning now in college and in school is really skill sets. And most of the times these skill sets could 100% always be applied to something else. So, you know, don't be afraid to pick something, and just know that you're going to probably change what you do. There's a lot of people that change careers, and it's a real thing. The numbers are crazy. I don't have statistics on that, but whatever you pick now, you may not stick with it for the rest of your life. So don't beat yourself up. That's my message.
Thank you, Jessie. Zanella.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zanella Taylor. I'm a VP at Morgan Stanley. And to backtrack, my career life was where I met Talisa was at Lincoln University. So we met at college. I went to college on a musical scholarship. I wanted to go to Hampton University. When I was in high school, actually, I went to a mixed high school. And I just felt like, oh, I want to go to a HSBC, you know, I want to be with everyone like me, pledge and all. My brother went to Hampton University. I wanted to go. However, it was extremely expensive. So that kind of segues to the financial piece. And Lincoln University was the only college that gave me scholarship money. And it was pretty much through singing. And that's where I met Talisa as well, through singing. So from there, I think just knowing, you know, it being embedded into me just to be very mindful of money, you know, to be very mindful of the financial choices and decisions that I do make in life, was kind of like embedded, you know, through parents, right? Because they didn't have much and they wanted me to be afforded certain opportunities and to get a higher education because that's what they believed in. But, you know, sometimes college is very expensive. So it is important to be in tune with that because everything's a business, right? So I know as students and as kids just growing up, you're not aware of all of this, right? You're just living life and just trying to have fun and making friends, but you're not truly aware of the real world and how finances does play a big piece or a part of your life. And to like Jessie's point, one thing that I do like about what I do is in the financial industry. I do feel like I love opportunities like this to educate others on, you know, their finances. Because if I could go back and return all the Jordans I bought in high school, I would, and invest it, I would. I would invest that money 100% to be a multimillionaire, you know, at this point in my 30s, you know, pretty much. And I say all of that to say that when you think about just being financially like aware and sound of what's going on in the world, and you know, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, and to see, you know, a lot of things that have changed in Brooklyn, but to be able to, you know, buy a piece of real estate in Brooklyn, you know, where I was actually homeless. Like, I think it was my sophomore year in college, my mother she was hurt on the job. So she fell behind on her bills and they kicked us out. I mean, it just was what it was. We had to move around. And I think for me, that's why I switched my majors, and I switched my majors because of a mentor, right? So I was always good in math. I think there was an AP calculus class that I took. I struggled in it. I think I was the only one that looked like me in that class, and I struggled in the class, but I loved math. And when I went to Lincoln, they saw that and they asked me, like, have I ever thought about finance or business? And they introduced, the teacher, right? And this is going back to the mentorship, right? Because I did not know better. I wasn't even thinking about finance or math or business. And a teacher saw, how I was really good in math and I should maybe pivot. And I expressed to her, but I don't want to lose my scholarship, right? Because I couldn't afford college. So I switched my majors in college from majoring in music, because I thought I wanted to be a music teacher. Well, I did at first, into finance and business. And that was just more of a personal, going through something, seeing my mother struggling, and said, okay, when I get out of school, and that's one thing that, I do admire about her. She wanted to make sure I finished college. So I finished the last 2 years, and then, helped her out, moved in with her and started paying bills and moving up the corporate ladder. So I say all that to say that it's good to always be financially aware of everything that's going on. Like, for every single dollar that comes out of your pocket, you should know where it's going. You should know where it's being invested in, the companies that you're buying into. And then that also would lead, hopefully, eventually, into you guys actually investing into the like real estate or stock market, like what you're actually putting your money into. Because one thing that I realized, just being in the banking industry, the banks, they really do have a lot of money, but it's important to pick a bank or pick a company that you believe in, that you want to work in, that's giving back to the community. With everything that has transpired with, George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, you see a lot of corporations, giving a lot to colleges, having more opportunities for students of all different races and cultures. But now we're seeing it, but you have to think about it. The money's always been there. It's just been invested in other places, right? So just to backtrack a little bit, when I say about investing and budgeting and just knowing where your money comes, it's going, it's important at your age to, have a budget, right? To think about, what you're spending your money on. Is it worth it? Because if you think about, if you have a job and you just take 15% of your income and actually put it to the side to save, you can actually have a good nest egg, right? A good 1,000 here, you can invest it, and then it'll be, 10,000s or 100,000s, as time grow on. And when you think about, what you're investing your money into, or your peers are investing your money into, you can kind of see like where people are putting their money and growing, right? I always knew there was a McDonald's. I grew up on McDonald's, right? So if I've invested in McDonald's, that stock is still flowing, it's still growing. If I would invested in McDonald's when I had my first job, I probably would be so wealthy now, right? And if you think about Apple and Amazon, it's the same type of mindset and thought process. But before you even get into it, investing your money, you should think about budgeting your money, right? Because you have to be able to live day by day, and you want that cushion of funds to be able to, invest in yourself and invest in your future, right? If you want to go back to school for something, or if you want to, have a side hustle or a side job, creating an LLC, like Jesse's, she does taxes. So it's important to figure out how to keep your money, right? So once you, have the money, you make the money, you invest the money, and you have extra, if you put it into like an LLC or a side job, you actually get additional tax breaks to keep your money. And that's a lot of, another way a lot of corporations, do keep the millions that they make through other investments or tax strategies. So yeah, I'm here to help anyone. There were a few questions that came out there, and I do feel like, yeah, the whole Bitcoin question I see as well.
Actually, you kind of started already answering the question that I was going to pose next. But really, I could ask you and Jesse, do you have any resources that you could kind of tell youth? Because I know stocks is something that most people, even adults, find like crazy, right? To access and don't really understand it. Are there any apps that are respected and trusted that maybe they can start, investing some of their the money that their parents give them into, or their job money?
Sure. So the main thing that I would say, given the age and the income level, I would say to open up a Roth IRA. So you can open that up at any investment company. You need to also make sure that you're looking at companies that are either SIPC or FDIC insured. And those two insurances are pretty much saying that they're backed by the government. So if there's a whole Lehman Brother meltdown, I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but sometimes these banks will get into certain things that that will eventually make them bankrupt, right? But if they have their bank, if their bank is set up properly, which most investment banks are, they will be backed by the government. So SIPC just means that I believe it's $250,000 of your investments will be backed by the government. So if that company or bank ever went bankrupt, it will be backed. And also, I believe FDIC, I'm not sure if it's 100K, I forgot the number, or if it's 250 as well, but a certain point of your cash at the bank is also backed by the government, right? So those are the main things you want to look at. One thing that I prefer, I would say, before the Roth, right? Because you can have your own savings account. You want to have a savings account to make sure you have your own emergency funds, just in case something happens. Like things can happen. Like I mentioned with my mom, she, was hurt on the job, and she fell behind on her rent. But if she had an emergency fund, she probably would have had enough to kind of help take over until everything kind of cleared through the settlements or whatever that she had to do with her work and job situation. So it's important to save for yourself in a savings account. Now you can pick a online like banking account that will provide a bit more interest rate than a regular bank account, but any savings account is fine, to be honest, as long as you're saving the money and you're earning something. But once you get to a certain amount, of money that you're comfortable with, and everyone feels comfortable with a certain amount of savings, is totally up to you. There's studies out there that says 3 to 6 months of your like living and operating expenses, but I know everyone's pretty much young or probably in, going to college, so may not have that many expenses, but still save up something that you feel, more comfortable with, and then start, investing pretty much. And then when you talk about investing, I would say a Roth IRA first, because once you have a job and have earned income, there's tax laws that say, okay, you've earned this money, and if you start investing it into a Roth IRA, then we won't tax you on the growth of that money. And there's certain income levels for certain ages, but for the Roth IRA, it's $6,000. So that's pretty big. But if you think about it, if you invest $100 like every month or every like bi-weekly, by the time you're in your 30s, you can have like $500,000, $500,000 pretty much of growth, like money that it's not taxed at all. So when you do retire or you're looking to pull out that money, and there are also tax advantages that, Jesse probably better to explain as well. But when you're looking to buy your first home, you can actually pull that out of the Roth. Like for first time home buyers, they do offer that as well. So there's so much that I can talk about. I'm thinking about like first time home buyers. I can kind of get into that if you want. but for the age group and for the students, I do encourage you to, just be mindful of what you're spending your money on. Be mindful of what you want to do in your future, how you want to pay for school, because everyone, there's financial aid out out there, but then, you will then be responsible for the student loan, right? And you will then be responsible for, housing. I think the way I personally came into the career that I'm in was through a referral at first, but I went on a job interview for Campbell Soup, actually. It was an internship and they had no housing. And at that time, I did excel in the interview process, but I had to decline the offer because they had no housing. So how can I work in a whole different state with no housing, knowing that I was like living at home, pretty much hopping house to house, like pretty much homeless and trying to get on my feet. So I couldn't do that. So I had to decline that and find a situation that was best for me, but I didn't have the funds to say, okay, I'm gonna move to a new state for the summer. I had to be really mindful of the money that I was gonna be spending and how I can, get myself out of the situation that I was in at the time to be as successful as I am, this current state. So so I would just say for everyone to just be thinking about that, budgeting and expenses and what they're spending their money on, and saving. Saving is very important to then invest.
That's so helpful. And I want to give Jesse the opportunity to jump in. And then we gotta maybe close things out soon, but Jesse, please, bring us home.
Yeah. So I wanted to chime in based on the audience, like just a little background. I have no kids, but I'm an aunt and I'm very involved. And I get these questions from my older nephew all the time, because when COVID hit, there's a wave of investment that was going on, and everyone just like was investing. Who didn't know, who knew, who learned from it. And I would say is that as a, I'm not a financial advisor, but I work very closely with them. There are buckets that we need to fill before we could go invest. And you will get a lot of different opinions on this. Right now, at your point in life, you're let's be honest, you're having fun, you're spending money, you're doing stuff, saving is very important. And think of saving as not so much putting money away, saving as investing in yourself. You're investing in Jordans, you're investing in certain, all these other brands, but before you pay anyone else and put money in anybody else's pocket, put it into your pocket first. If you get $100, even if you save $5, just do it. There's a lot of adults right now who wish they had a Roth IRA. That is the best advice. Retirement is something that no one wants to think about, but it's going to happen. There's going to be a time where, and retirement, what it was, isn't what it is today. People at 65, boom, or even earlier, retire, they're out the door. Today, people are continuously working, and not so much because they love it, some do, is because they don't have a choice, they have to. And the facts are that I, at my age, would have to supplement my parents' income because they did not do what they need to do for retirement. And that might be the truth for a lot of us here and may not even know it. So the Roth IRA is the best advice anyone could give you. Put your money in a bank, Roth IRA. If I had to tell you, forget about the stocks. You're not losing money. Yes, you could make a fortune, but I think in terms of, if you don't even have $5K in the bank, in my opinion, I feel like you have no business risking your money out there. It's already going to be a little risky in a Roth because, I don't invest. I will eventually, but people always say, well, how come you don't invest? So I'm like, well, I don't have, if me and my husband lose our jobs, I don't have a year of income saved up. And that is important to me. Not that I can't do both. It's just that I have a priority set in place. My retirement is great. I have stuff, I have insurance, I have emergency funds for everything, I have money offshore. So for me, my retirement is already being invested in the market. You know what I mean? I kind of don't really have much money to free up to go into the market. And would I do it next year? I would, but I feel I really need to thoroughly educate myself about it. And the question is, you got to ask yourself, do you have $5 to lose? Then yeah, sure, invest it. That's how you have to look at it. And I think if you could answer yes, it's just like going to gamble. it's fun. I enjoy it, but am I willing to lose $100 tonight? And if that answer is yes, go ahead and invest it, because too many times people look at the stuff and their heart just sink because the money got lost. And that's a reality that will and possibly could happen, because this is how the economy goes. What goes up will come down and vice versa. It will go up and down. So be in it for the long run and don't, pull your money if you're going to do it. So just pretty much be ready to say to yourself, I'm investing this because it's no sweat off my back if I lose it. And at this point in your life, I think that's how you have to look at it in terms of what you should be doing now. I think invest in yourself, open an account. It will help when you go to college and want to do other things to invest in yourself. It's nice to just say, you know what, I got $3K right here. I'm going to invest that in myself, do some type of program, what have you. And that's the best feeling you will have when your peers are so caught up on $1,000 coats. And that's what happens. You will see friends still doing the same thing that you used to do because they just didn't save, and it happens. And that's what I have to say on that.
Thank you. That's incredibly helpful, both of your perspectives. I agree with everything said here. Start your retirement count as early as you possibly can. It makes all the difference. Sometimes just starting two years earlier can mean tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference further down the line. It's the power of compound interest, which can be an incredible thing. You can see how much your money will move. If you have $1 million saved in your IRA, you make $100,000 a year based on 10% interest, right? So the more money you have, the more money you make. This is how people become rich in America and how they retire and make sure that they can take care of their families. So love so much of what has been said. Zanella, any last words that you wanted to add? There's a lot of questions in the chat. We can get into them later too, but we only have about 5 minutes left here before we do our raffle and dismissal.
Yes. Yeah, I know there's a lot of questions and I literally can go on and on about this, but I'll probably share some links. Also, like YouTube is totally okay to just research and get some awareness of Roth, IRA or ETFs, stocks, mutual funds, like anything that you have out, like that you see that's coming up, because a lot of people, they do specific like tutorials and videos on this in a nutshell, to be honest. But when you actually do set it up, you will be setting it up with a financial investment bank. So like a Vanguard or anything. I don't want to promote my bank, but you will have someone to be able to help you and assist you with them as well. But like I said, any bank out there that's FDIC insured and SIPC insured is you should definitely go with. But before investing, it's really about budgeting, right? And really, like Jesse said, paying yourself first, saving for yourself first and for your future. And it's okay to be different, like just to kind of echo what Jesse said. Till this day, I still see individuals, buying things that are very materialistic, but it's really not important. And you'll be so surprised of who's really a millionaire, who's not, right? So some of the individuals you see on Instagram flashing are not really worth as much as you think they're worth, right? Or you'll hear a scandal coming out in the news about, a few people, but just do it the right way. And it will come, like with compound interest. And even with that, when you make $1 million and you can live off, 10% off of that, you can actually create a generational wealth, right? And leave your kids something that or I know for me, that's my goal, that I wasn't left for myself, building it, a good nest egg to leave down, for my kids as well. The one point earlier I do wanted to mention, because I do see Bitcoin here, but I think it's kind of bigger than that, because someone asked them about what more can we do to prepare ourselves for college or for career. Always think about like the next best thing, right? So meaning technology is a big thing. I'm not saying for everyone to go out and major in technology, but to think about that, right? And to think about like how you can use technology within your own, you know, lifestyle and career, and what skill that you're going into has some type of tech or technology like strategy or use to it. Because if you think about like even like within the music industry, we don't use tapes anymore, we don't use CDs anymore. There's a lot of downloading, you know, Apple Music, like all these artists have to download their music there just to get 99 cents off of a song, right? But if someone would have thought a little further, like, how do I stay on top of this wave of technology and downloading music, you know, they would, you know, we would have been a little further along as artists, I would say. I mean, I think it's getting there, but do think about that, right? Because that also helps you save a little bit on your money. But later on, you can kind of like outsource that if you want to, or get into that career. It's a top commodity now, even in the industry that I'm in. And also just like basic, you know, communication skills, typing skills. Like I think in my first internship, that's one thing that I learned, and I felt like I was typing slow or slower than the individuals in other cubicles. So I was like, okay, no, I have to keep this job. I need to learn how to type better, or, you know, just reading more as well, because it helps you just read through, you know, documents and read through legal agreements, right? So, you know, you want to be able to fully digest everything before you sign on that bottom line for anything that you're doing. It could be an application for school, it could be student loans. You know, you really want to be able to digest the information, have time to digest and ask questions. It's important to write things down and ask questions and follow up with someone that you think can help you out. Because when you're at that counselor's office, knocking on their door, asking those questions, it does make a difference. It does make an impact. And sometimes they are presented with an opportunity, and they'll say, what student do you think will be best for this or best for that? And they'll think about you because you're always there in their office trying to improve yourself, right? And trying to learn more and trying to, you know, just get more out of their resources. And that's really their job to help you achieve all the things that you can achieve in life. So definitely, I would say continue to network, look out for mentorships, and and ask questions.
That's so helpful. All of this advice, all of this guidance. Let's give a round of applause to Jesse and to Zanella for coming and sharing their wisdom and their expertise with us. We have, and thank you for all the students who have participated in the chat and have been paying attention and asking great questions. Let's do this. We're going to run the raffle because we want to be respectful of everybody's time. Talicia, I think you have all of the names in the...
I do. I have the names. How many raffle prizes do we have?
How many names are in the document?
I have 9.
9? I think we can give everybody a raffle prize. We have that ability, thanks to the generosity of our community board. So everybody, congratulations. You invested in yourself today. We're going to invest in you. We'll be sending everybody who attended today a $20 gift card. So keep an eye out for your email. We're going to be sending that digitally for all of the students who attended. Really appreciate your time, your attention. It matters so much that you are thinking about your futures. So we're going to make sure that we are sending that to you in the next 24 hours. Just keep your eyes out. And I want to also thank the generous community board members who provided the funds so that we could give everybody a gift card here today. And then, my 2 cents on investing. Also, there's some questions in the chat about some eager investors. I think Zanella had a really good point, which is it's always stable to invest in companies that are well-known products. You think about your Apples, your Amazons, you think about companies that really corner the market and aren't going to be unstable in the future and have a long-term trajectory for success in technology or energy or whatever the future of things is going to be. You want to think about buying a company that you want to invest in for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, not a company where you're trying to make money really quickly. Those opportunities where someone says, oh, this is the next hot company, definitely might not be, because there's 50 of those might be the next hot company. Sometimes it's right, but it is often wrong. Fred says, don't mess with your rent money. So much great advice here about making sure that you do have that savings put aside for those moments when you need to pay rent for a few months, when somebody has to go to the hospital, or an expense needs to be covered. Really critical to have money waiting for that. But in terms of your investments, think long term. Think about things that you want to do 10, 15, 20 years down the line. You want to buy your first house. That's what you should be investing for. You want to retire at a certain age, you should put money into your Roth, IRA, and your 401k when you have a job as well, because you can do both. So all of that, at 7 o'clock, I just want to say thank you to everybody, to all of the students and all of the presenters, and to Community Board 9 for putting together these events. Email us. Let me put our email address. Maybe Khalid, you could put our email address in the chat. Students, if you'd like to learn more, have more conversations, you want help with your resume, you want help with cover letters, you want help getting involved in saving or investing or setting up an account, just send us an email. It's in the chat right there. And if you want to be on the community board for Youth Services Committee, you should email us too. All the folks who have put all these great questions in the chat, we'd love to have you on the Youth Services Committee also. So please do join us if you are able to. There you go. You got your email addresses. Give everybody a round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. To the community board, if you want to stick around and have a quick debrief, I would love to do that with you. And again, for all of the students, wishing you all the best financial health in the future. And please reach out to us if you have any questions at all.
Thank you everyone for coming. And feel free to email us if you have ideas about other workshops that you think might be helpful to youth, right? Let us know and then we can help put that together.
Really quickly, guys, we are very much welcoming internships, if might be paid, coming to the end of this year. So if anyone wants an internship and is interested, you guys could facilitate that if you want, and let me know if anyone is interested.
All right, sounds great. Zanaya is interested. So Zanaya, send us an email at the end.
I was waiting.
At the send us an email at the email address below in the chat, and we will make sure that you get connected directly with Jesse. I'll put my email address in the chat as well on that, and we'll make sure that we get connected and that you get set up. Love it. This is exactly the value of coming to events like this. All right. Well, thank you, Jesse, for that generous offer. Thank you, Zanella. Thank you to all of our previous presenters and to our and to our panelists too. I hope that you learned something and got something valuable out of this time. Everybody have a good evening.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Valerie, you joined us at the last minute of the event.
I know I had something to come up and I was like, oh my God, this is like the big thing and I couldn't make it. So I was like, let me click on, maybe I can catch like the last 2 seconds to see, how it went. I'm sorry, I apologize.
You caught the last 2 seconds. Okay, so it looks like we have mostly community board members here. We still have Judy and Namra with us, and Rose as well, and Bianca. But
question, was this recorded?
This was not recorded. We didn't record.
Oh, I wish
no, never.
Actually, I'm seeing the recording button is lit, so I think it was.
I lied.
Because I'm suggesting we could have it for people to see over and over again, and maybe as an activity to repeat the whole thing for people that could join just as an activity,
Yeah, that's a great point, Nicholas. And we have it recorded, so I'll make sure that Khalid sends it to us later. So we all have it in our inbox, and we can
There's a lot of good information that came through for this whole presentation. Okay.
Great. Yeah, agreed. I'd love to do just a quick round of, let's call it just roses and thorns, things that you felt like went well and something that you feel like could be improved for the future. I love to collect feedback immediately so that we can make a stronger next event. And so we're going to next year, I want it to be even better. So Fred, I feel like you're off mute. You're ready to go. Give me your rose and your thorn.
No, this whole event was a rose, I think. And it's funny when you said that. It's when I was in grad school, we called it kudos and EBIs, even better if. So we said, next time, even better if we do this. I think the only thing is I was just sad to see it end so quickly. I think there was just a lot that, there was so much more we could have gotten into. Even though it was great, I think that, I don't know. I leave that to the committee in your judgment in terms of if there's a way we can do this for an extended period of time. I know weekends get touchy, but I think this is fantastic. Or if you make it a series where it's like there's a couple of these topics that are maybe touched on for a little bit longer. But listen, I think this is fantastic. I was happy I was actually able to make this one this time. And this is great. You guys are doing fantastic work in the committee.
Thank you, Fred.
I have to agree with Fred. This is an issue that I even have in the classroom where I feel like we usually have to cut conversations short when there are teachable moments, and those are lost moments because of a time constraint. So I do like the idea of a series, like this could be like Financially Lit 1.0, and then there's like a 2.0, where it's like the next level where they really get to dig in and it's just based around their questions. We could even ask them to submit questions in advance so that we have more time to address them. But I do think that the conversation was about to get really rich, and it was sad to see that it had to.
Yeah, I hear that. Maybe I'm too much of a timekeeper. Maybe I should just let it run on. But maybe I agree. Maybe we just need more focus. Rashida, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was kind of just reiterating. Yeah, I think it was maybe just go focus it into like the stocks or the financial end of it, because combining was a great idea. But then as you saw, like the resume took up such a long period. And then really when the financial stuff, it was like, the time we're about to end. And it was like, really would have loved to hear more about the budgeting part of it, just the investing part of it, just a little bit more tailored to the kids so they can really get into it a lot and answer their questions. But yeah, I thought the information was great. So kudos again for another great program.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Keep it going around. Sol, this was your first event. Would love your thoughts, your feelings, your roses, your thorns.
I don't really have any thorns on there. I thought that it was a good event and a lot of information. I just know a lot of the times, with youth, just trying to make it a little more interactive, because it's a lot of talking at them, which I think they get a lot. But if there's a way to make it a conversation, I think that is something that makes kids actually absorb the information a lot better. And then maybe if they had like some visuals, PowerPoints, because like I'm a visual learner, so you're telling me a lot of stuff, but if I see it, I learn better. So just maybe those little, even though I said I didn't have any thorns, I guess I did, but those little things I think would make it a little bit more engaging and then address different kinds of learners.
I agree 100%. Those are my same pieces of feedback. Other folks, Shanae, Khalid, always happy to hear from you. Any thoughts?
Yeah, just to basically follow up on what Fred was suggesting, I think a series would be great. And of course, the committee will decide on what they can allow themselves to do, maybe something during like a summer sessions, since kids will be out of school and they may have more time to attend these sessions, and maybe a series that tailors specifically like to the questions that we saw here in the chat. Like, for example, I know that someone had asked how, or what stocks would be preferable in terms of investing in and so forth. So maybe perhaps we can make a segment in which we talk about current economics and how kids can pay attention to ongoing current events and decisions that they can make in terms of investing. So as Fred has suggested with Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies is going through a major proliferation right now. And maybe we have a segment discussing about cryptocurrencies, apps and platforms you can invest in, YouTube people or news podcasts that you can follow in terms of, learning about such. So I think that would be a good idea moving forward, if anything.
I'll run now on
Some
deep.
people are getting into forex trading also. It's not for
No, not forex trading. No. Like, specifically like the the things that are major, like, Bitcoin, as Fred has pointed, like 10 years ago to today, it was $1. Now it's almost, it's $58,000 right now. And, we're all kicking ourselves in the feet for not putting in that dollar years ago. So, maybe moving forward, we can, we can inform them about, like, listen, technologies do come and go. And so if we're thinking about, say, for example, thin metals that allow for spacecrafts to be, constructed and built. So like silicone or some sort of like that, that's what I mean.
If you bought a pair of Jordans, instead of buying a pair of Jordans 10 years ago, you bought Bitcoin.
Yes. You could be
scholarships for everyone. Scholarships for everyone.
Millionaire by now.
Nobody who bought Bitcoin 10 years ago kept it today. So they sold.
No,
Yeah.
I just this is something about the forex trading. Also, you have also to tell them, and one reason I mentioned it, there are some pitfalls they have to avoid. And forex sometimes could be one of those. That's the reason. So I think you could try to include that because there's a lot of pyramid type businesses.
Yes.
They should be made aware of that. If that was in that sense, I was saying that. You understand? So to be aware,
that's a good idea. Yeah, teaching them to avoid Ponzi schemes and such. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of shady business out there. Linda, would love to hear from you as well.
So, Linda, I agree.
You're breaking up on us.
Hello?
You're breaking up, but give it a shot again.
Oh, okay. I was supposed to say, yes, I agree with Mr. Alomar. Almonar. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yes, but the other thing too is that we could share with them signs of when to know what is good and what is not so good and what is bad. Yeah, I mean, we got to be careful with sharing company names and stuff like that. But you're right, I agree with that. That's a very good thing. I now I attend a seminar on young people. And the thing was that by the next generation, 1 out of every 2 persons would have gone to college or in the process of getting a college degree, right? By the time the alpha generation start, they're going to be bored. And so sometimes I wonder, as the generations that going before, and we are all working towards building a better world for all sorts of people, Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, all lives matter, right? That we too could, be able to share some snippets of our own investments and how they have come and where they're going, so that they see people like us being part of it. Yes, it is good to invite what we call professionals and experts, right? But sometimes if somebody like you share their own story, it encourages us. And I think that's where sometimes our young people tend to look towards. Like I'm listening to Mr. Khalib, and I always watch him like, yes, that's a young guy that's really doing stuff. And if he could he could be like, a good example for the young kids. So when you see him, it doesn't matter. He looked like 16. So a 16-year-old will gel to him. And
14.
Right, Fred, 14. Right? And so you could find even 1 or 2 sentences from Khalid that everybody's like, yes, and they're like one. And we get them coming to us. We get them coming to us because to see that we've got young people who know, and especially Black men. Yes, we got college, a lot of college ranked and college bound Black men, but we need to get them speaking in the normal sense, the normal use of words and everything that Hokulib does that they understand. So yes, we could do more.
Sounds good. I mean, feels like we need to do an investing event at some point. And we'll get Khalid to pose as a 16-year-old.
Let's show his face. Don't worry.
He's a plant.
Get into it. Well, I know it's 7:15. I want to say thank you again to everybody for your time, your energy, your effort. I'm gonna give a special shout out to Linda and to Talicia and to Shanae and to Rashida for all the energy that you put into this. I see all of the that goes into it. I know that it's hours of time, and it's meaningful, right? I mean, like, we got to speak to kids today about the importance of like starting off their financial health. I wish somebody had told me when I was in high school that I should start thinking about retirement, how critical that is. And right, the students, I feel like were really engaged in the panel discussion and thinking about their careers and how that connected to college, and kind of see their wheels all beginning to turn and spin, and them getting more just fluency in this area and getting more comfort with it, right? And that makes all the difference, I think, for young people. Alicia, last thoughts.
I was just gonna say, my group chat is blowing up right now. They're saying like it was such an amazing workshop. It was a lot of information. They're even asking about like the presenters' names. They're like, what was her name again? So they loved it.
Good.
Fantastic.
Helpful to know. Next time we'll include a survey with like a,
Yes.
That's next. Always iterate. Everybody though.
I will share you the lady with the Miss Bernstein. She's very helpful and she's good. So they can even have one-on-one on her. So I'll share that information with you for your kids.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Put it in the email chain, and we'll get out a follow-up email hopefully in the next 24 hours to everybody who attended and folks who RSVP'd who didn't make it. I think we suffered a little bit because of the Zoom link issue, and I think we suffered a little bit because of the lovely weather today. But we did a good job getting folks to RSVP anyway. We'll translate that into actual attendance in the future. Again, thank you everybody. Have a good evening, and I will see you at our next meeting, which is in a few weeks. Sol.
Yeah, can I talk to you, let everyone hang up? I want to ask just a couple questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely, let's get into it, Sol. Everybody else, have a good night.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Phenomenal
Bye.
job, everyone. Phenomenal
Bye.
job.
Bye. Thanks, Brian.
Take care.
Sol, you were at the last meeting, right? Like we were talking.
Yeah, I was at the last general meeting. So I just kind of wanted to know, because, like, I really want to start to become more active within my community, and wanted to know, like, what does the youth committee do? What is the focus? What is the goals? Things like that. And like, how can I be involved?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's constantly evolving. This is my first year as chair. Last year I served on the committee. So I wasn't kind of a, appointed community board member, but I served on kind of this volunteer subcommittee, which we'd love to have you on. So Khalid, maybe you could take her email and add her to future emails and meeting invites. And so last year when I started, which was a complicated year, obviously, we basically usually did one event a year, and that was kind of the purpose of the Youth Services Committee. We would hold a career expo, so a jobs fair once a year, and that was kind of our signature event.
Okay.
Moving out of kind of a space where we no longer have the ability to hold an in-person jobs fair because of COVID, we decided to shift this year and hold a series of smaller events focused on different topics. So we started off the year with a youth speak out. So I had about 35 kids from the community come and tell us, what they wanted the Youth Services Committee to do in terms of events for the rest of the year. And so their first request really was around financial literacy. So that was this event that we held, which is our second event of the year. And we'll probably hold one more event we have monthly subcommittee meetings where we kind of plan looking towards the future. And so we'll have like kind of an event, and then we'll have a month or two to plan a next event, and we'll execute an event, and then we'll a month or two to plan, et cetera, et cetera. And so sure, as you could imagine, just getting the whatever the 5-7 presenters all sorted out, and getting out the flyer, and we're all volunteers. So that's basically what we do, is host events for youth in the community and try to engage them and provide them with things that they are not receiving in school. So just kind of filling the gaps, engaging with local kids, and making sure that they have a voice in their community also. And so one of our goals also for this year, which I don't think we've quite accomplished yet, is to get a young person on the Youth Services Committee, or a few people, and hopefully we can kind of add that towards the end of this year or for the beginning of next year. Hopefully that is a helpful overview.
Okay. So is there like opportunities to grow or do, because like part of what I was looking to do was to have an avenue, like there's a lot of youth organizations in the in this area or around the surrounding areas, having the opportunity to like come together, talk about what we do, how can we help each other, how can we work each other, how can we help and do more for the youth in the community, like what are the needs of the youth in our community, like what are things that we can be doing, a little bit more, because I kind of feel like, like having jobs, I have had jobs, like one of the jobs was more in this area. I've worked in multiple schools in this area, in this community district. But it kind of feels like there's disconnect with a lot of people, and it'd be great to be able to like network and do projects, like I like doing service projects and, bringing kids into these things and how can we empower them and stuff like that. Is there a way to kind of, and I'm an active person, so I'm not like one that'll just like sit back and be like, here, I'm gonna give you this suggestion, you do it. So if I give it, I'm willing to work on things too. So I just kind of wanted to know if that's of interest and things like that.
It's of interest to me, certainly. I agree. I work for a youth services organization here in New York, and so I understand the power of collective impact, and would be interested to see us pull something off here in the community. You're the first person to raise it. We are a democratic body, but I don't see that anybody would object to an idea like that. I think it's actually a really smart idea for us as we approach the summer. So maybe with our remaining few months, like let's pitch that idea at our next group meeting, and then begin to move on it. I think it's probably a little easier maybe to facilitate an event for peer organizations than it is for a group of kids in some ways. So I think it's something that we could definitely pull off. So let's do that. I love that idea. And it also gives us more access to kids, frankly, for the future. It's just a smart play. Khalid, do you have the date of our next meeting? Are we every second Tuesday or something like that?
Every first Tuesday.
First Tuesday? Not the, oh yeah, for our subcommittee? Okay. So we're every first Tuesday. So our next meeting is on May.
It's May scheduled for May 4th.
Okay.
Khalid, hook us up with a calendar invite, yeah?
Yes, we'll be setting that up.
Right.
Yeah, and I had another question because I'm trying to do a like community feeding day. And so I've been trying to connect with the organization that was supposed to be able to donate like 200 boxes of grocery, and then we would just take it and deliver it. But I'm having a really hard time like getting anybody to actually do it. And so I wanted to know, is there any organizations that you guys are aware of? Because I'd really like to do something out here in Crown Heights, to do a food giveaway day, connecting with another network that does it, and then we'll just do the work.
I feel like Khalid, there's no question we could get like Diana Richardson or Zelnor Myrie just to get this done.
Right. Most elected officials are, at least so far as we are aware, do food distribution events. There are other organizations like, typically like a Merchants Bid, for example, like Flatbush Avenue Merchants Bid, they do food distribution, or food delivery sometimes. Let's see. I know that there is a bar. I think it might be Salem's Hour on Nostrand Avenue and Maple, or between Maple and Rutland. I think they do like a community food type of storage or distribution event as well. But I think to make it simple, like going along with elected officials definitely helps in that vein, because we're typically sharing information, their information for food distribution.
I'd say like Sol, if you just email the CB9 email address, well, the community, it falls a little outside of youth services. I could probably personally help you with it. I feel like I know some folks who would do this. I think going to the community board general office will definitely get you connected with electeds, because they hold those relationships.
All right, yes, I'm a little new to the game, so that's why I definitely would like, any support. So which email is the best one to email? Am I emailing directly to you, or?
Email the BK09 email. I'll put it in the chat again.
Okay.
And and our health and social services has also done food distribution. We did a turkey distribution giveaway during the winter holiday season. So yeah, we'll see how we can assist.
That'll be great. Oh, BK09-1, that one?
Yes.
-1.
The infamous email address. And if you want us, just CC me, just so I have your email address, just so I make sure that you don't miss out on any.
You're breaking, like your voice is, it's like going down, so I couldn't hear the last, some of what you were saying just now.
Yep, sorry, I put my email address in the chat as well, so you have mine.
Oh, okay.
I gotta run and walk my dog, but pleasure to meet you, Sol, properly here. Thank you for your great ideas and for joining us tonight, and look forward to continued participation.
Absolutely. All right, let me make sure I grab your email before you go.
Go for it. Khalid, I'm gonna make you the host again.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah. All right, Primo. So we'll talk later.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much.
You got it, Sol. Take care.
All right. Peace.